Good evening. I'd like to call to order the City of West Bend Licensing Board for July 19th at 6:25 p.m. Note that we do have a quorum. We have 6 items on the agenda, the first being approval of minutes, the Licensing Board regular meeting minutes for June 21st.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motion seconded. Any comments or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Moving on to agenda items for consideration. We have number 2, reserve Class B combination license for Classy Artist Box LLC, Classy Artist Box at 840 East Paradise Drive.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motion seconded. Any comments on this one? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Number 3, secondhand article dealer license renewal for Walmart number 265.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motion second. Any comments or questions on this? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. Number 4, secondhand article dealer for Anthony S. D'Angelo at 155 North Main Street, West Bend.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you. It's been motion second. Any comments on this one? Hearing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And number 5, an operator's license for Gregor J. Huntington with a presentation by the chief. Take it away.
Good evening. Police Department did their background, recommend denial of this license based upon 2 incidents in the last about 13 months. In June of 2020, Mr. Huntington was stopped Glacier Blues Hill Park. He was there after park closing hours. The officer confiscated marijuana and drug paraphernalia. He was convicted of those offenses in August of 2020. And then in January of 2021, Mr. Huntington was in a licensed premise in West Bend. He had a fake identification and was drinking underage, and he was convicted of those offenses in March of 2021. So for those violations which are related to his premise or the license that he's asking for, we recommend denial.
Thank you. And is Mr. Huntington in the audience? Yeah. Feel free, if you'd like, you can step on up and let us know what's on your mind.
I would just like to say that I made a few dumb mistakes. Regarding the fake ID and underage, it was like I was in the bar in the wrongdoing, but I was there to help a friend. I'm not the same person. I'm trying to do better. I currently am bartending. I just came from work, and I would just like the license so I could get more hours, more experience, and keep on moving forward.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll just open up the licensing board if they have any questions
I would make
or
a
comments.
motion to deny.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Been motion second to deny. Any other comments or questions? Hearing none, all those in favor of denial, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? And just so you know, Gregor, this is just a recommendation that goes to our common council, which also meets tonight, so feel free to stick around tonight, okay?
After this.
Yep, after the same meeting, correct. And we'll move on to number 5, an operator's license for Arthur James Amend. Chief.
Again, the police department did the background and is recommended denial of this license based upon 2 incidents also within the last 13 months. In 1 incident, Mr. Mudd was stopped for operating while intoxicated. He was found guilty in municipal court in September of 2020, and I would also note that he failed to comply with the alcohol assessment interview, which is required and also is a condition for the council to take into consideration if they were to approve this license or deny it. And then in July of 2020, he was convicted of obstructing police, also a alcohol-related incident in which he originally reported his vehicle stolen to Jackson Police. He was highly intoxicated at the time. The police found the vehicle a short time later. It had been involved in a crash, and at that time when confronted, he changed his story, and he was cited for obstructing police, to which he was found guilty last October. So for those violations, we recommend denial.
Thank you. And is Mr. Amend in the audience? Yep. Same thing. Feel free to come on up and let us know what's on your mind if you'd like.
I would just, excuse me, I would just like to say that
I do own up to having the OWI, and that's in the past and to me, and I accept it. I did not complete the assessment because there was a person that met at a time where I could do it through, I was working at a gas station in Jackson, and that person was leaving and they were booked out. I ended up leaving that station and going to one in Barton, and I have not had the chance to complete the assessment because I'm trying to work and get the money for it because it's $300 to do it, and I've been out because my foot was broken. And I'm finally just getting back to work.
Thank you. Thanks so much. I'll open up if there's any comments or questions.
I'll make a motion to deny, but what I will add for both of you, if you gentlemen can work hard enough to stay out of trouble and refrain from some of these incidents that have been tagged on by you guys, and come back next year, I will change my mind. But right now, we have too many incidents between each one of you, too close to be responsible to serve individuals out there. And believe me, OWI is a very serious offense, and I'm sure you would not want anyone to leave your premises after you've just got done serving them and someone was seriously injured or killed because you refrained from not serving those people. So this is a real serious situation. I'm going to make a denial for this one also, but I hope you guys stay clean, come back next year, and whole different story. So good luck with you guys. I know there's a lot of other jobs out there. Do your best to be good, and I'll be happy to see you guys come back.
I'll second the denial.
Thank you. And thanks for those words, Alderman Butchlick. If there's no other comments on this one, all those in favor of denial, signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Thank you. And again, same thing for you, Arthur, that stick around later tonight, and then the full council will get to discuss and decide. Thank you. And having no further business for the licensing board, I adjourn by the call of the chair.
Okay, I would like to call to order the Board of Public Works. We have 6 items on the agenda. The first item, I would like to have a motion for the Board of Public Works regular meeting, approval of minutes.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any corrections? If none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you, motion carried. Item number 2, approval of a long-term stormwater maintenance agreement, 208-210 North River Road. Good evening, Max.
Good evening, thank you. This item is for approval of a long-term stormwater maintenance agreement between the city and the property owner. This is a typical agreement that we ask the board and council to approve once we issue a stormwater management permit to developments. This development is for a planned unit development at 208-210 North River Road. And the agreement is basically safeguard to ensure that the stormwater management facilities are properly installed and that the property owner will be held accountable with the maintenance of these items in the future. So we recommend that the board and council approve this agreement.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions for Max? There are none. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 3, state and municipal agreement for safety improvement at 3 local intersections.
Thank you again. So the city of West Bend entered into an agreement with Traffic and Design Analysis, TADI, to perform safety screening at various intersections throughout the city to determine which intersections could receive funding for improvement under the Wisconsin Department of Transportation program called Highway Safety Improvement Program. In their analysis, TADI recommended that we start with 3 intersections listed on your memo at South Main Street, West Decorah and West Decorah Road, South Main Street and West Paradise Drive, and West Paradise Drive and South Silverbrook Drive. The application was successful, and the DOT sent a state municipal agreement to the city, which is a typical first step to get those projects done. In the memo, I have included an extract from the state municipal agreement showing the funding for each phase of the project. The engineering phase, so developing the plans and designing those plans, and the construction of those improvements. The project will also require small real estate acquisition at 5 locations in order to expand the right-of-way and install the improvements that are needed to make those intersections safer. We have a cost estimate for the real estate acquisition of $35,150, which would be 100% the city's responsibility to cover. The rest of the project cost would be funded by the federal government at a rate of 90%, so the city would be responsible for 10% of the cost of the project. So if the board and council approve this agreement, we would follow up with advertising to hire a designer for this project, and we would follow the Department of Transportation procedure to select a designer. We have done this in the past, and we need to have a selection committee put together, and we usually have one elected official. In the past, we even had 2 at some point, I believe. On the committee, we are required to have 1 at least. So if this is approved, we would move forward with forming the selection committee, ask one of you to be on that committee, and then come back with the top 3 or top 5 designers that we would select. So at this point, we recommend that the board and council approve the state municipal agreement and authorize the city engineer to sign it, as well as amendments that might be necessary, as long as we remain within the financial picture that we have right now in the state municipal agreement.
Motion to approve.
I'll second. I'll also volunteer if you need somebody to sit on the committee.
Okay, are there any questions for Max? Yes, Alderman Delnick?
Just 2 brief ones, Max. Were the 3 intersections selected based on crash histories?
Yes. So that's the first element that we look at, is the rate of crashes at each of these intersections. And also the type of improvements that could improve or reduce the rate of those crashes. But yes, that's where we start, is looking at the number of crashes at those intersections.
And then actually you mentioned the improvements, and the memo didn't get into that, and I don't expect you to get into big detail, but would this be like adding turn lanes?
So most of those, I'm sorry for interrupting, most of those are realignment of left turn lanes, and adding signal heads above each lane. In some cases, we may have 2 signal heads, but only 3 lanes, and studies have shown that sometimes it causes confusion for the drivers, whereas if we have a traffic signal head above each lane, then it's clearer, and then there's less hesitation, and the crashes are reduced. And realigning the turn lanes to not be halfway through a through lane, clearly defining the space for the drivers help as well. So we will have some of that work, moving pavement markings, etc.
Okay, anyone else?
John, could I just jump in quick for a
Go ahead,
second?
Jay.
So this is a big deal. This is a $1.7 million grant award that Max is very humble, modest. Staff's been working on this for some time. There's been meetings with both chiefs and Doug, and the prioritization of these intersections have bubbled forward to the grant applications in the first place, of which ones we thought would score the best, to your question, Alderman Dolnick. And we said all along, because this has been in the works for like 3 years, that this would be a good problem to have. If we were successful in receiving this and we had to come up with the 10% over the next 3 years, that, again, is awesome in my opinion. And I just wanted to publicly thank the team, not just Max, but everybody that works on it, and TADI who helped us with the grant application. But this saves our CIP from trying to fit these projects and upgrading those signals and those left turn lanes into future year capital. And you all know how competitive it is for CIP money. So I just wanted to jump in. Thanks, John, for letting me do that. It's important to recognize this kind of money when it comes to the city of West Bend. Thanks.
Alderman Allen?
Yeah, we're looking at doing the engineering this calendar year and the construction next calendar year.
Well, actually, we're working with the DOT funding year. So their funding year starts in July. So we were looking from the funding that we'll have for the design will be approved as soon as we move forward. So starting July, and then we would do the design next year mostly, so they can start doing the studies right now and into 2022. Once they come up with the plan and the exact amount of land that we need to acquire, we would be acquiring that land in 2023. And based on the DOT funding table, the spending for the construction will happen in 2024.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, Max, again, I echo what Jay said. Thank you very much for all your crew and for work. This is really exciting news. It hasn't come out of our pocket. Okay, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 5, standard sidewalk treatment for downtown area. Oh, did I miss one? Oh, yes, I did. I'm sorry. Item number 4, award contract 2108 storm sewer improvement from 18th Avenue to Vogt Drive.
Thank you again. This item is for the reconstruction of an existing storm sewer between 18th Avenue and Vogt Drive. We have an existing storm sewer between those two streets, and with the reconstruction of 18th Avenue, we will be increasing the amount of water transported through that pipe. Therefore, we need to upgrade the size of the pipe to accommodate that additional water, and we advertise for a contract to do just that this summer before the reconstruction of 18th Avenue. We received 8 bids. However, 2 of the bids were not complete, so we did not read them. And you have listed in your memo the 6 bids that were complete. The low bidder is Go Constructors of Campbellsport, Wisconsin, and their total bid is $208,660.08. So we have verified the qualifications of Go Constructors, and based on work that they have done for the city in the past, we find they are qualified to construct this project. Therefore, we would recommend the board and council award the base bid of the contract in the amount listed in Go Constructors' proposal, and allocation of a contingency for total not to exceed $220,000 for this project.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions for Max? Yes, Alderman Berquist?
Max, the cost of this work, obviously it's an upgrade that's required based on the reconstruction of 18th Avenue. Would the cost of that be then passed on to homeowners in the area?
No.
Okay.
This is funded with capital project funds.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? All right, we have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Now, item number 5, standard sidewalk treatment for downtown area.
Thank you again. This item is to a proposal, recommendation to change the standards for sidewalks in the downtown area. In 2003, the Downtown West Bend Association had approached the city with a desire to mandate that brick pavers be used as the standard sidewalk in the downtown area. And there was a map with existing brick pavers in the downtown area at the time, and based on that map, the city passed a resolution that any sidewalk to be replaced or maintained in the future should be done with brick pavers. Today, the Business Improvement District for Downtown West Bend is planning a reconstruction project to improve the streetscape in their area. And during their preliminary discussions, they would like to implement a new standard for the sidewalks in the downtown area. And at this point, they would like to implement plain concrete slabs featuring a brush finish with window pane, similar to what we have on the River Walk along the east side of the Milwaukee River along Veterans Avenue, or what we've installed in the West Pocket Park between the river and Main Street across from Old Settlers Park.
Please, motion to approve. Yes.
Okay, any questions for Max? There are none. We have a motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you very
Max.
much.
Item number 6, Go Right Way temporary parking on city property. Jay?
Sure, I'd be happy to introduce. My apologies for attaching the document in the 11th hour. We just received it from Go Right Way at 3 o'clock today. They had been working with Washington County on a temporary spot to store their buses in the sheriff's lot, and that ended up not working out, so they asked if they could amend the agreement. They had an agreement with the county that never got to full execution. So the agreement that you just received today, and it's now attached to your packet, is for the gravel lot that's just outside of the Public Works area where we currently store snow when needed. When we don't store snow, we don't use it a ton. And they worked with Steve Schmeling and Doug Newman to identify this lot. Go Right Way did, and asked if they could utilize it. We came to this simple agreement. Ian had a chance to review it. Doug's had a chance to review it, and is supportive of both are supportive. They can speak for themselves of this, working with them as they build their new facility. So they would like to use that gravel lot for a few months. Jason is here from Go Right Way if you have any specific questions. I think the only thing, if you look closely or look closely later, that is in the agreement, it says something about a blue line, and that blue line, I believe, was in the county map that they had. So there was no blue line. There is now a blue line on the map that we have for the city. It's just outlining the gravel area. It's Scrivener's, no big deal in my opinion. You could strike the blue line if you wanted to be specific, but that's a recommendation to utilize that lot, help a new business out in the city of West Bend.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Any questions for Jay or Jason? There are none. We have a motion on the floor. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion opposed? Motion carried. All right, thank you. Thank you, Jay. There being no further business before the Board of Public Works, I adjourn.
Thank you. And with that, I'll call to order the City of West Bend Common Council meeting for July 19th. Note that we do have a quorum with all aldermen present and accounted for. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
And to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I will start us off with just a quick snippet. It was a fun weekend. This past weekend here in West Bend, we had Regner Fest going on, the Mayor and Council's Appreciation Picnic, Mud Run with the record number turnout. It really just was an awesome and exciting weekend in West Bend. So thanks to everybody, both in the audience and at home, for helping us to put on those fun events. With that, I will go to approval of minutes. It's the Common Council regular meeting minutes for June 21st.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Thank you, Alan and Muddle. Any discussion or corrections? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And we're going to kind of move some stuff around here. Under agenda items, we have our 2022 budget preview. Since Jay is giving one presentation and is just going to be giving another, I'm just going to smush these two together. So Jay, if you want to start off with number one, a report regarding the compensation plan, and then we'll turn that into the 2022 budget preview.
Awesome. Thank you. It looks like it's on most of the screen, so thanks for the opportunity to present. I had a chance to chat with all of you one-on-one that this has been coming. We've been talking about this for a few years within our organization. It's a compensation study and a recommended implementation of that study in year January 1 of 2022. Again, we've been discussing this for some time, and I'll just jump into the presentation and answer any questions that I might be able to at this time. Why propose the change? Those things we're going to cover: process and comparable communities. We did compare communities of similar size above and below us regarding population. We compared municipalities within Washington County. We do lose employees to neighboring municipalities at times. And we compared the data from Washington County itself. Washington County went through a compensation plan in 2019, implemented in 2020. Which employees are included? We'll touch on that, and then the results and next steps. The last study for compensation within our organization was completed in 2013. It wasn't fully implemented. I wasn't here in 2013, so I don't know the details of it. We do have the results of that study. The paperwork of that plan is still available. I think some of you have requested it over time. You're certainly welcome to obtain that, and we can share that with all of you for a history of what was done in the past. And we have had modest cost of living increases or COLAs over the last few years. Those are reasons why the current plan or concerns of our current plan, we're just not keeping up. And the cost of living adjustments, those COLAs did not affect the ranges. So the ranges that were put in place in 2013 are still the ranges that we have today. We're recommending new ranges to be modified with a 2022 plan. We've had extensive employee turnover in certain departments. Public Works is probably the one area that's had the most. We've had a lot of turnover in library as well, turnover in parks and our utilities, especially sewer. We've lost a fair amount of employees to other municipalities over the last few years. And we just recognize that we're out of market for compensation as positions are posted in other municipalities. It's just a recognized fact that we're out of current market. So why do it in 2022? I shared that it's been a concern for several years. Funding has been requested in the HR. Michelle's put it in her budget. Over the last few years, I've taken it out of the budget. The $40,000 or $50,000, maybe $50,000, $60,000, depending on the consultant that you end up with, was a significant number that we didn't have funds for available. And even if we did go through a comp study in those previous years, we wouldn't have had the funding mechanism to be able to implement the plan, so I never thought prudent to go through the exercise without being able to implement it. I feel differently now in 2022. We do have a path forward. The 2021 budget, if you'll recall, we have TID Health that's improved to the point where we're actually returning monies to pay off portions of general fund. So in 2021, we've had some TID monies that are directed to the Riverwalk. That's a one-time funding source for the Riverwalk, a one-time project. And those funds, a portion of those funds I'm proposing to be redirected to implement the comp plan in 2022. Those funds are reoccurring funds. They'll be repaying the debt on levy that has occurred, especially in TIDs 5 and 9 over the last several years. As the TIDs were short and in poor health, they've had to borrow money from the general fund. Now our TIDs have risen to the point where we're able to return that money to the general fund, and that's where the cash is coming from to pay for or implement the comp plan. And it was identified in the 2021 long-term financial plan. We have a 5-year plan at the back of our budget that was approved for the 2021 year, and it has this in it as far as the funds that are becoming available and the eye to implementing a comp plan in '22. As far as who's included, it's non-represented employees, so not our police and fire unions, but rather the non-union folks, both exempt and non-exempt. Staffing representing all our departments, department heads, supervisors, utility staff. I just listed basically everybody so that we weren't indicating that we were leaving people out of the plan. The process, I already shared, we didn't hire a consultant. I felt better about utilizing the funds available on our employees versus hiring an outside consultant to come in and share the same kind of data that Michelle and I can come up with and recommend for implementation. So we gathered the data sets available that I already mentioned as far as where they came from. The 2019, 20, and 21, we tried to get as late of data as possible, but in some cases we utilized just what was available. Department heads in their respective program areas forwarded information as well. Michelle and I drafted the recommendations, and I already shared where the data came from. Maybe the last one I don't think I mentioned, but a Southeast Wisconsin data set compiled by Cottingham and Butler. It's a consultant that does that. For the business, they do pay plans as well. You can contract with them. In this case, we just paid a nominal $150 fee to give them our data and then be able to receive the data back. The results, it confirmed that we are out of touch with market. That wasn't a surprise. We anticipated that coming to fruition, and it certainly was. We did recommending some FLSA modifications, some exempt employees versus non-exempt employees, and just getting them in the right category. And then the data behind the recommendations are the 92% of the 109, so that in straight math comes to 100 out of 109 employees are being recommended for a salary adjustment. The average salary adjustment that's being recommended is $4,519, and that's based off the 100 number, not off the 109 number. Simple math will tell you that, but just to be clear, I didn't use the zeros to lower that average. General fund salary impact is $283,553. Those monies, again, would be coming from the TID repayment to the general fund, and then overall salary impact, recognizing the enterprise funds, picking up a portion thereof, gets us to $451,000 overall organization impact. Some notes along the process. The ranges, as I mentioned, will be upgraded. That's information that I'll have available for you all soon. Wanted to start with just a general presentation of the results of the data and then follow up with the specifics, but we'll be able to share the revised ranges in the very near future. Salary adjustments are provided for employees in good standing. I'm happy to report we don't have any employees within our organization that are on a performance improvement plan, and that we do have employees in good standing, and if they're being recommended for a raise, would be qualified for a raise. Those salary adjustments would be implemented again on 1/1 of 2022. The performance review, merit-based increases that we operate under for our cost of living adjustments would remain intact. So if there's to be a cost of living adjustment in addition to the pay plan implementation, which I am recommending, I shared the data sets with you are from 19, 20, and 21. So to keep pace and not fall behind with the comp plan, I would recommend that a cost of living increase and would be included or added on to this. and that would be still by merit. So you'd have to go through your performance evaluation with your supervisor, department head, and then if qualified, receive up to X, whatever that amount is determined for the cost of living for 2022. Next steps, again, stressing the implementation date of 1/1 of '22. Department heads would include the pay plan adjustments within their respective budgets, which are due to finance by August 9th, and then review by finance and action by council, ideally at the August 2nd meeting, so that we can include those adjustments in our 2022 budgets. We already talked about the cost of living discussion. I don't know if there's interest in having that discussion here. I can share with you that for every $25,000 in general fund, that reflects a 0.5% increase basically within our organization. So 25% is a half, $100,000 is a 2% cost of living increase. That is the cost of living increase that occurred last year. But that would be the fiscal impact in addition to the numbers that I shared already, just under a $100,000 for a 2% cost of living increase. And then final approval of the plan would be included in the 2022 budget adoption, which is scheduled for November. Questions, thoughts, comments?
Thanks. All right, I think I saw a couple to my left here. Let's start with Dolnick and then Aaron's. Oh, I'm sorry. Did you hear it? Okay. Do you want to talk? Either way, we'll start off with Alderman Dolnick. Go ahead.
If you could go back to the slide that had the two different total cost numbers. No, one more. Yeah. It was the one that compared, I'm sorry, that is it. Okay. So the overall salary impact you mentioned enterprise funds, and just to clarify, the difference for the 283,553 from the 451,940, that amount comes out of the water utility and the sewer utility?
Correct.
Out of their operating?
Yeah, and the library and communications.
Okay.
Yep.
So the general fund impact is the 283,553, but your plan is that it would not be on the levy, our tax levy, because it's going to come out of TID funds?
Yeah, it would be levy. It's levy dollars, but it would not be a rate increase because we have available TID funds paying back the levy from previous years.
All right, so it would not result in a tax increase?
It would not be a tax rate increase, no.
Okay, thank you.
And that would also, but in addition to, if we did the merit-based pay, that would be on top of that general fund impact of the 283, correct?
That's correct.
So maybe 300. Okay. Got it. So, Model?
I just wanted to express my support. You know, I think we've got a great team in West Bend, and it's about time we start compensating them for it. So,
thanks. Yes, sir. Alan?
Couple of questions here. The ranges are being indexed going forward. So if someone were to get, in addition to a cost of living adjustment, which would be done on the range as a whole, their merit increase would be based on the new range, correct?
I believe the answer is correct. I'm not sure if I entirely followed your ranges and merit.
A position has a range.
Correct.
Okay, when the cost of living event, if we choose to do that, happens, that'll move the entire range up. The person's position in that range isn't based on their old salary, it's based on nothing having happened. So if they then were to get a merit increase for performance, that would happen based on the new rate?
The new rate, and I would say within the new range as well. I think it's both.
Yeah.
And.
Okay. What is the potential for using ARPA funding?
Well, there is some allowance for ARPA money for employees. I would not recommend using ARPA money for this, or for the implementation of this plan. It's one-time funding. I think utilizing one-time funding for a one-time asset is wise. So example, the Riverwalk, we've talked about utilizing a significant portion of those funds for the construction of the next phase of the Riverwalk. Again, using it on employees is in some instances, and they're still drafting the rules on how to legally be able to utilize it. I would not recommend that.
And you had talked about 9 of 109 positions had kept pace or were within range. Was there any commonality to the job types or categories? In other words, were we able in some specific jobs able to keep up with standards as opposed to others where that didn't occur?
So I think I clicked back through this slide. I blew through a couple of bullets on here, Alderman Dolnick and Alderman Allen, in response to I didn't call out the fact that we're able to implement this plan without increasing the tax rate. I think that's important to notice. And then the bullet immediately above that indicates that we did do an adjustment. So part of the reason we recognized that we were out of market is in 2020, there was a correction made for police and fire. So the police and fire implementation of this plan would be significantly smaller than had we not done the 2020 correction. I'm not sure if that's an exact answer of your question, Alderman Allen, regarding if there's a place where we noticed some keeping pace or others, but I would say overall, yes, in some departments we've been able to keep pace a little better than others, but still significantly with 100 out of the 109 being recommended for some level of a market correction.
Yeah, the police and fire people represented on this slide, that's the non-represented.
Correct.
Okay.
Thanks for the clarification. Yes, it's for the non-represented folks. And then the why, the importance of recruitment and retention, I think Alderman Model touched on that, but that is an important piece for our organization, is to be able to recruit and retain qualified people.
Anybody else? Yes, sir.
I got a couple. So Jay, we're at 283,553 total plus the cost of living increase, correct?
Correct.
So then the total impact would be obviously more than the 283 if they get 2%. We're looking at another 28 to 3,000.
On the 451, that number would go up as well. Is that what your ask is?
Well, both of them are obviously going to go up then.
Yep.
With the cost of living.
Correct.
So this doesn't reflect the true number. How do we budget this in future years? Obviously, this is a one-time deal. We can do this. I'm not pleased with taking it out of TID funds. Not saying I'm for or against the plan, but I don't think TID funds is where we should be getting the money for this. And then how do we budget years going forward? It's $500,000 this year. It's more than that next year. It's more than that the following year. How do we continue to budget for it?
So great question. So to be clear, the taking it out of TID funds might be my poor way of describing how monies are being repaid to the general fund. So as TIDs, specifically 5 and 9, struggled over years in the past, we've had to, as an organization, add general fund dollars, so tax people for general fund dollars to lift up those failing TIDs. Now we're to the point where those TIDs have had enough success, not so much 5 and 9, but 4 and 6, which are both donor TIDs and help repay 5 and 9. They're able to now repay the general fund. So they are general fund dollars. They're generated by the tax increment district, but they're general fund dollars that were spent in years past that are now being returned to the city, and they are recurring. Alderman Kaler, to your question about is this a one-time shot? It's not. They're recurring till the life of the TID, and then once the TID closes, we'll be able to utilize the funds that are the increment that becomes available by closing the TID.
So would it not make sense to take those funds and pay that TID down sooner and get rid of it?
So you could not pay back, again, fair questions. What are your options regarding TID repayment? We could choose as an organization to not repay the general fund back and close TIDs as they become available as the debt is paid off. We certainly wouldn't recommend that. Carrie and I wouldn't recommend that. Ellers wouldn't recommend that. We, as an organization, the taxpayers paid that money into the TID and now have a chance to get it back. That's just being fiscally responsible and prudent. And I'm not suggesting that you were suggesting we're not to
No,
do
I'm
that. But
just thinking through this.
Yep.
I mean, I get where it's coming from and why it's coming from there, but it just doesn't sound right when you say, well, we're taking TID dollars and we're going to use it for employee raises. I mean, if we haven't budgeted properly to cover these raises, that's on us. Do you have a list of who we compared to this time?
municipalities wise, is that what you're asking?
Yes.
Yes, Manitowoc, Fond du Lac, New Berlin, Brookfield.
And are we looking
Germantown.
at total package, including benefits, retirement, all that, or are we just strictly looking at wages?
We already know that we compare favorably to other municipalities with health insurance, for example. We've done that study often, and our employees pay in the public sector at a very high comparable rate. So yes, I would say all things being equal, FICA, Wisconsin Retirement, across municipality lines, if our health insurance is already at a high level and our salaries are at a low level compensation wise, we are comparing without trying to normalize for all of that data through this plan. We are comparing full compensation.
Okay.
Anything else, Randy?
No, I'm done.
You good? Okay. Anybody else? Yes, go ahead.
Yep. So thank you, Jay and Michelle, for taking the time and doing the comps, because like Jay said, the saving the money, by having a consultant, I think that is important. That's great that we were able to do that. Question for Jay, the market adjustment that you talk about the implementation in 2020 to police and fire. Are any of those positions that we just adjusted going to be included in this plan?
Yes, they are.
So we will readjust people that we did just adjust?
Yeah.
Okay. And then the other question I had was about merit-based cost of living. I know you said that it's only people that are in good standing, but it sounded like everybody's in good standing, and you said that it's performance-based, but like last year, for example, how many of our employees or a percent roughly are meeting their goals?
A very high percentage. I don't know the exact number off the top of my head, but I would say it's in that similar percentage of what we're recommending for an increase.
So 92%
I would
maybe
think
of
so.
people. Okay, so pretty much it would be another, if you said it's another $100,000 in essence, probably on top of this is what we're going to look at in terms of if it's a 2% raise, because you said the 0.5% is 25, right?
Correct.
So
2% would be 100, yes.
2%
And
would be
we're
100.
just starting to get that data in from what other municipalities are referring to, discussing. I mean, it's a pretty tight labor market, so I do think a 2% number is not a crazy high number to be talking about for a COLA for 2022.
Right.
So that's fair to
Okay,
use
so
that as an example.
So as a total, the overall salary impact closer would be maybe $551,940. So we're looking over $500,000 closer to.
If you add in the cost of living increase for 2022 and the
Yeah.
compensation correction, correct?
Right, and they both would occur in January, right?
Correct.
So, I just for the numbers, they both are going to occur, so it's going to cost us either way for both of them. I guess my only kind of questions is, I think we still are lacking some data details, to be honest. Like retainment by department, that to me would be important to see. You highlighted some key departments where retainment is an issue. And I guess for me, I would say that that's where I would like to focus on, making sure that we are comparable if we have department positions sitting open, if we're not able to retain and keep good people. I think that that's important. So I hope to see, I know you said you're willing to share some more data numbers for us to kind of look at, dive in a little bit deeper. And then the last thing I just wanted to say overall for the TID, TID money, not TID money, where it goes, how it's spent. I mean, if or when or however much we do is salary increases, that takes $551,000 out of roads, sidewalks, and other parks or any other project. It's still tax money or still money that could be spent on something else. So I understand that it's neutral on the tax impact in the budget, but it still doesn't leave us money. That money still comes, we still pay the money regardless. Correct, yeah.
I mean, it's invested in our employees,
Correct.
which are our single biggest asset as an organization. And so, I mean, the answer is yes, you're not building a road with that $451,000, but you're employing the people and retaining them and recruiting them to be able to build the road.
Mm-hmm. And the 551 would be each year exponentially attributed into our
It would be
budgets.
a reoccurring cost.
Reoccurring cost, and probably 2%, 3%, 4% increase each year from 2022, 2023, 2024, because more than likely we're going to give a cost of living increase to our staff each year.
Ideally, yes.
Yeah, okay. I just want to make sure that number-wise, we're thinking about all that. Thank you.
Thanks, Megan. Alderman Dolnick.
But again, just to reiterate, the total number I think you're quoting, Megan, part of that is coming out of, again, the enterprise funds, not out of TID money, right?
I mean, yeah, some of it's general funds, some of it would be, yeah, it's from all over. I'm just saying the overall package of money.
The overall package, though, the total that you were estimating was maybe correct, but it's not, all of that is not coming out of the TID. Because you mentioned 450,000 could go for roads.
Well, I'm just saying the overall salary impact of 451, regardless of where the money comes from, we have that impact. That's all I'm trying to say.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think it's important to realize that the money that we save, by not doing this, some of that can only be spent on sewers and water, and we can't just say that the total impact, that's the total dollars, but about half of that is funded out of the enterprise funds, which are, they're not money that we can go build a road with. So that's an important distinction, I think.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions for Jay on this? Yes, sir.
And relative to the rest of the county, this is money we should be spending anyways on our employees.
I mean, I'm recommending it as a compensation plan to be implemented because our employees are worth it. They've been held down.
To get us
they've
to a
been
reasonable
patient,
baseline, yes.
And it's time to get them to a midpoint, which this does. So this, without talking about specifics, this does not make the City of West Bend employees the highest paid employees in the region, the county. This brings them to a midpoint, which was the goal, to get back within market.
Money we should be spending anyways.
I totally agree. Yes, it is money that we should be spending on our employees.
Any other comments or questions from the council? And I'll just comment quick that, ever since I was elected, I remember some of the meetings that we had with Mike and Doug and your struggles for not only retaining but hiring, good employees that are going to stick around with us and not leave us for other municipalities or the county. So I agree with the overall support of the comp plan and the need for taking a look at our employee levels and see how we compare in order to compete in the job market. I have gotten to look at a draft of that more detailed list, so I look forward to that being shared with everybody. And I think then August 2nd is when we really can dig deeper and take a look at those numbers. So good stuff. Thanks, Jeff.
Thank you.
And with that, we'll switch it over to the 2022 budget preview. Take it away.
Thanks. think it's going to come up. Hey. So this is part of our timeline for the 2022 budget. Instructions have gone out to employees. Some of the data that we have available has been made available to the department heads to draft the 2022 budgets. I typically come before you in July with some goals. That's really the main point of tonight's discussion. We intend on continuing current level of service. I know that's not super exciting to hear, but it's better than taking services away that we currently offer. And if we were in a crazy rich financial position where we could be talking about adding services, that'd be a fun conversation to have too. Those kids have to do a little more good health over the years to get to that position. We are in a fortunate position where we're able to continue to offer a current level of service and to begin to talk about some other cool stuff that's on here. So focus on recovery. The 2020, 2021, we've had some hits and some successes. The ARPA money is certainly a positive. Some landfill funds that have been dispersed and coming back to the city. Again, another positive in 2021. We will be implementing the health insurance plan recommendations by the Health Insurance Committee. I already shared with that last presentation that we're at a fairly high level for comparable municipalities of what our plan design is regarding cost to employees and I'll say benefit to the city as an overall organization. These modifications will be able to implement some even more, exciting, if you will, cost savings. Megan had a chance and Jed to serve on that health insurance review committee. I think there'll be some pretty neat results from this in the future, not only 2022, but reoccurring savings over the years as well. We are fully implementing the lease program into the 2022 budget. If you recall, when we jumped into it, we had all of the maintenance line items that were going to fund the costs of the lease program for 2021. This year, those line items will be coming out or being greatly narrowed to the municipal vehicles that are remaining. And there'll be a new line item that'll appear in many budgets for the annual lease cost. And we're just starting to have conversations with our leasing company for the potential replacement of vehicles as soon as 2022. I know that sounds a little crazy, but that's kind of how the program is scheduled to work. So we're working through that for 2022's budget. Using the appropriate amount of net new construction, we discuss that on an annual basis. We'll have a chance to talk through what that net new construction is. We're hopeful that positions us to be able to have some funds to deal with things like the 2% cost of living increase that we just discussed. Maintain current tax rate, clear 2022 budget goal, no tax rate increase, and with the funds that are being returned to the general levy from the TIDS, I'm confident that we can accomplish that in 2022's budget. Implement the compensation plan. I didn't know these were going to be backed up to one another presentation-wise, but that is a goal for 2022 as well. And then the engineering technician position that kind of had some fits and starts. When our engineering department went down significantly in staff 10 or so years ago, we did add back an engineering technician position. That position was here when I arrived in 2016. It was vacated shortly thereafter by the individual, the incumbent in that position. And then we held it open and it ended up eliminating the position. We're at a point with workload within that department that adding that position back will greatly assist our organization. So I know Max has been asking for it the last couple of years and we haven't been able to fund it. By having those funds available again, returning to the general fund, we're going to be able to fund that position and I'm pretty excited about that. Merit increase, we talked about 2%. I left it as a question mark for today. I'm hopeful that that's the number that we're able to come in at, but I'm looking to receive any feedback from all of you if you have specific comments or comparables or things that you're hearing from merit increases in your respective world. And then the GFOA Distinguished Budget Award, the CAFR award that we've been successful due to Carrie and her team and all the great work that she's done. That would be a goal of ours to accomplish that again in 2022's budget. Some challenges that are ahead. Nothing on here will surprise you. We've talked about these over the last few years. They're here again. Dark store issue, I shared a couple of examples. We have 4 lawsuits within this year's, at the close of this year's Board of Review. The Menards, Walmart, Home Depot, and Freightert are all challenging their assessments. I listed two as an example for you. $15 million is the 2021 assessment that has been assigned by Jeff and his team for Menards, and they're challenging at $6.36 million. Walmart, the data there is before you as well. $16.7 million is the assessment that we have put on it as an organization, and they're challenging at 7.8. Home Depot's is a much smaller gap, and Freightert came in at about 75% of the assessment that they're challenging. So there's really not much. I know we talked in length with previous councils about dark store and potential legislation and how we might be able to influence and assist this issue from continually being around. You can see we're carrying 5 years of Walmart potential lawsuits. It would be a huge impact to us financially if a Walmart, for example, were to be successful at that 7.8 million and had to be repaid. The legislature really hasn't been dealing with it as an issue recently because of the court cases ruling in favor of municipalities. So there's significant momentum that it's been building in municipalities around us throughout the state that have scored victory in favor of the cities and not for the big box stores. We had our own victory in 2018 when, on this slide, I say settled, but with Menards ended up withdrawing their court case in the 11th hour just before it went to court. I'm convinced they saw the handwriting on the wall that they were going to lose in court, and they pulled those 3 years, 16, 17, and 18. If there's any questions about that issue, I can attempt to answer them, but that's the dark store challenge. Capital
Jake,
go ahead.
Sorry, can I just ask, is it worth, going back and doing any other sort of resolution, or, is it really just kind of a wait and see with the courts and then legislature might get their act together?
Yeah, I won't even pin it on the legislature at this point. The league, for example, is not necessarily recommending that the legislature do anything. The court cases have been so strong that that's kind of taken care of itself. So okay. No, you're certainly welcome to as mayor and council, but at this point, I don't anticipate a need for that, no.
Okay, thanks.
CIP 2021, a 5.37 level. We borrowed for 7th and for a significant part of 18th within that 2021 5.37 amount. The 2022 plan shows 3.4 million. We still have a balance of 400,000 that's needed for the 18th reconstruction, again, to be done in 2022. And then 2 million of the remaining 3 million dedicated to roads, similar to what we've done in the past. And then the other departments are working through a prioritization process as a team and with me to try to get to a recommendation before you. I'm still hopeful that we can bring it to you at the second meeting in August or the first meeting in September to pursue that 2022 and the next 5-year CIP plan. COVID impact, I guess basically just stating some facts. We do have building permit revenues.
Hey Jay, Alderman Kaler's going to ask a question.
My bad.
Back a second on your
sorry.
CIP. Last year we had borrowed that extra, what was it, 1 million or 1.5? Is that reflected in only going for 3.4 in 2022? Is that correct?
It is.
Okay.
Yep. Thank you. Again, COVID impact, I don't really want to talk a bunch about this, maybe other than to highlight the 1.651 that has been received. We did receive those funds within our accounts from the first draw, the first half of the 3.3 that we're scheduled to receive for ARPA money. And then maybe the last bullet's worth mentioning, there's lots of talk about potential infrastructure. We've been meeting internally that if that becomes available, what projects would we focus on? And so Max and I are having that conversation. If there should be infrastructure funding available, we're not shy, we're willing to pursue it. Tax increment districts, general fund levy repayment, we've talked about that a lot already this evening. Sewer and water utility also has some funds that they've expended in advance and will need to be repaid over the years. Again, the TID Health projections are all solid that they're going to be repaid. I know there was a time where we weren't entirely sure if that was going to happen or not, but I'm proud to say that is the plan and a path to repay those funds to our utility who extended them in advance, not knowing that they would receive them back or not, with the life of the TIDs being in peril for a while. And then developer shortfall, I put that on here, specifically the cast iron project. The Hendricks Group has expended significant dollars of their own to pay for shortfall payments, and TID 3, the Wingate subdivision as well. Those TIDs have recovered to the point where we're able to now start to repay those developers on an annual basis the amount that they put up front and receive what they have appropriately coming to them. So exciting conversations to have with developers that are being able to see their monies come back to them. And then just TID 14, the phasing, as the second, we're still in search of the number 2 project with Milwaukee Tool nearing completion. We've had lots of conversations with potential number 2s. We're excited about the possibility. With those possibility comes future phasing costs. You approve the road that's being constructed yet this year, but beyond that, the development pattern will dictate what road gets done next and what expenditures that we need to pull off in order to meet that demand. Next steps within the 2022 budget, department heads draft and their budget staff draft the 22 budget and submit them to Carrie's team. They review them. We meet with department heads on a one-on-one basis. It all stacks up to that October 11th meeting. We do have Phil scheduled to come for August 2nd. He always does a nice job explaining the financial situation of the city, both from a TID health standpoint and from a debt standpoint. I already talked about health insurance and the 2 budget dates for you. Any questions about that or timing? That maybe just mentioning that October 11th date as a special finance committee meeting. Last year we held it as a special council meeting. So Megan, as chair, will lead that meeting. And I mean, it's up to her how she wants to do it, but I anticipate a similar level of review with department heads in the room, and we can go from there.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, it's fine. Either agenda. It's the same people in the room, so whatever.
Questions, comments?
Sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Dolnick.
In your projection for next year, it didn't the only personnel increase was the engineering department. Now, we have the fire department personnel study going on. We know the fire department hasn't increased staffing in 2 decades. So what's the status of that going to be?
It would be determined with what the results of the study are. I could have put that on as figure out fire department analysis report, but I don't know what that's to be or what they're recommending. We'll share that information as soon as it becomes available.
That would be in time for 2022?
I don't know, and
Okay.
I don't know what they're going to recommend, so I'll just say potentially.
Okay, thank you.
Alderman Allen.
Can we request from the study contractor can we get a deadline or some kind of a commitment on when he's likely to provide us with the data?
So I do know there's an August 6th meeting that's in the works. There's a preliminary discussion that's going to occur with the team that was assembled to review the proposals in the first place. So that August 6th at 8 a.m., Brett's scribbling because I haven't talked to him about it yet, has been a date that I was emailing back and forth with the consultant over the weekend, and that's the date he's looking at for that initial presentation. So I'm anticipating the end of August, but I don't want to say that and then have it be just after that. But I think we're getting close.
Thanks. Alderman Gary.
We have 2 studies, correct? One being done by the fire department, and we're also doing our own. When are the results for that one expected?
the fire department employee or the union study.
Yeah.
That's
Do
a
we
great
have any-
question.
We have any idea when that one's coming?
So the last we heard from the president is that we were in queue to get it done. We didn't hear that there'd be a date for the release of it. But they did share that they would share it with us.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct me if I'm wrong, theirs is a manpower study, more or less. Ours is an all-encompassing, or do I have the two mixed up?
No, ours is all encompassing. Theirs is a manpower and
Response
location
time.
of, response time, location of stations.
They both could have an impact.
Correct.
Anything else? Yep.
Turnaround time for more data on the comp plan, like end of day tomorrow. Can we get some numbers? I mean, if we need to talk about this August 2nd, it'd be helpful to
Yep.
have a lot more detail. Thank
Yep.
you.
That's the plan.
Anything else? Well, I
Thank you.
did just want to jump to the highlights that I jotted down here. The no tax rate increase, that's great. Great for everybody. Everybody likes hearing that. And so to be able to do some of the things that we've been talking about doing and not have a direct impact that way, that's always great to see. The health plan savings, again, I'll give a shout out to Alderman Dolnick and Kennedy. Thank you guys for working on that. So I'm excited to see the fruits of that labor. And I'm excited for the engineering department. For you guys to have another body in there. That's one of my gripes as well. So thanks, Jay.
Thank you. Thanks all.
All right. And with that, we'll finish up our presentations and move to the consent agenda, which consists of items 2 through 9. Thank you, Dolnick and Kaler. Any comments or questions? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And we'll move on to public hearing. Number 10, a public hearing regarding weights and measures assessments. If anyone from the public would like to come up and speak on this item, it's just very exciting, feel free to come on up.
Motion to end the public hearing.
Second.
Thank you. I'll give that to Butch. Yeah, you're trying really hard. All those in favor of ending the public hearing, so by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Wonderful. And we already reviewed 11, so we'll move on to 12, a final resolution for the levying and collecting of special assessment under Section 66.0703 Wisconsin statutes for the July 1st, 2021 through June 30th, 2022 weights and measure inspections performed by the State of Wisconsin Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection and pursuant to Municipal Code Section 12.26. Staff, did you have anything to present on this?
Yes, I do.
Go ahead.
Every year, the City of West Bend has contract with the Department of Agriculture, Trade, and Consumer Protection to perform the weights and measures inspection services. The current contract cost for the weights and measures with DATCAP is $11,200. The cost of this service is then distributed to the businesses based on the number and type of weighing and measuring devices that they have with their business. And that is what generated the cost per device, and then we invoice the businesses after the resolution is approved.
Sounds great.
Second.
Motion by Kaler, second by Monell. Any discussion or questions for Steph? Seeing none, all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. And number 13, an operator's license for Arthur James Amend. The recommendation was to deny.
Motion to deny.
Thank you, Model and then Berquist. Any discussion on that?
They were here. I don't know if they.
Yep.
Did they want to speak again? I guess.
Yeah, I think they both left.
I think they're in the hallway.
Are they?
Okay.
I just could kind of see. So I just,
Yeah, if you want to check.
I
we
mean,
can-
I don't
we
want
can
to.
pause.
If
Yep.
they waited this long, I would like to
Yep,
at least
yep.
give them a chance here.
Yeah, I agree. That's fine.
The meeting wasn't that boring.
I don't know.
Maybe
If I,
not for
I don't know
us,
if I agree or disagree with that, but.
Thanks, gentlemen. Thanks for waiting around. We are on Mr. Is it Amend? I'm sorry if I'm not saying your name right.
Amen.
Amen? Well, if you'd like, we did have a motion to deny your license here at the common council level, but again, you can feel free to take the stand if you have any other comments you'd like to share with us.
Yeah, I just had one thing that I forgot to say earlier. I've had a license in Wisconsin since I was about 18 years old. 3 different counties. I currently hold one in Jackson, Richfield, and Town of Polk. I've never had a cloud of judgment while working in a gas station to sell to anyone underage. Nothing I've done or mistakes I've made in my life have ever affected what I do for my job. I just thought I'd throw that out there.
Thanks.
Yep.
I don't know if Chief or Steph, can we confirm that, if he does have current active licenses, or?
I did not confirm that.
Okay, thanks.
It-
Yep, go ahead.
Is Mr. Amond aware that even if we were to approve this, you can't get it until you settle some debts?
I was not aware of that, but that's, being able to work would help take care of that.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions?
I just do want to say to you guys, you know, I'm glad that you came, you showed up. I think that that says something, just taking that into account. I know that we have a gas station potentially and a restaurant that's, you know, food focused. You know, this isn't like a nightclub kind of license. It's good to hear that, you know, you guys are trying to get your stuff back together. I know the service industry is really hurting for people. I just hate to deny, you know, people that are trying to work and want to work in this economy, you know, the ability to do so, especially in what I would deem not as high of a risk in terms of alcohol. You know, at a gas station, obviously, like you said, he's not sold to anyone underage, but I will also echo, these are pretty recent issues. If this was more than 12 months away, I would absolutely be on board with this. This has been within the last 12 months for both of you gentlemen. So that weighs on my mind a little bit too, that it's difficult, but I just want to throw out what's in my head with that, so. Thank you.
Thanks. And
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
normally I'd agree with a lot of what you just said. It's just that the time, within the last 12 months, it's just too soon. So to echo what John was talking about earlier, Alderman Bushlick was talking about earlier, just come back in a year, guys, keep your act together and try it again.
Any other comments or questions? So we did have a motion to deny for Mr. Amond. If there's no further comments, then all those in favor of denial, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. That that license gets denied. And then operator's license for Gregor J. Huntington. Same thing for you, gentlemen. If you want to stand up, feel free to make a comment.
I would just like to say that, like, getting the license would help with, like, my future plans. So I'm about to be a realtor, and I'd like to keep bartending, like, at night while I build up, like, my clients and all that. I have been working there already, and I haven't had any problems. I don't think I would. I know you guys are going to say that it's, like, within the 12-month period, but for one, they're hurting, and, like, you need it to work there, and for two, I don't know how you expect people to grow and change if you're not going to give them responsibility. You could argue that it's, like, still too soon within the 12 months, but it would all come down to, like, it would hurt me, and I just really believe that, like, I made a mistake. I feel like everybody has, and that's pretty much about it. Whatever you decide, but yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, he would still be able to work, right? He just would need to have, Steph, can you expand on it?
Well, I still can work there because
If you're going to talk, if you can get to the mic so we can get you recorded.
so people still, like, as long as somebody's, like, in the building or, like, a bartender with me, like, they hold the license, like, that's what's been going on now. The license would just allow me to actually, like, work more hours, obviously, like, move up, and if I want to open my own bar or restaurant or anything like that, like, close. It's just more of just then I can be, like, alone, like, they don't have to always have somebody there. Yeah.
No doubt. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments or questions on this one? Otherwise, we are looking for a motion.
Motion to deny.
Second.
Again, try again in a year, guys.
Thank you, Model and Allen. If there's no further discussion, all those in favor of denial, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you, and that motion denies. But I'll echo Megan Kennedy, thanks so much for sticking around throughout this time. There's not very often that we actually have potential license holders come to our meetings, let alone, stick around for all this time. So it really shows a lot about you guys that you were willing to stick around. So we appreciate it and hope to see you come back soon. Thanks, guys. And with that, we'll move to number 15, a resolution authorizing temporary ATV/UTV route on city streets. Ian.
So this is the follow-up to the ATV/UTV ordinance that was approved at the last meeting. That ordinance said that any ATV or UTV route would be designated by resolution of the Common Council. This is that resolution designating the temporary route for the fundraiser for the Kettle Moraine ATV Association charity ride, and basically in line with what they had requested previously, now that we have the ordinance in place to be able to do that.
Second.
Thank you, Kaler and Alan. Any questions for Ian?
Thank you for drafting that. I just was going to say it does go through my district. Motion and second, I definitely think the majority of my district is on board. It's for the Make-A-Wish Foundation. It's a weekend permit. The majority of comments I got were very supportive of it. A few people definitely concerned about potential speed or noise, but I think that the holders of this event are very responsible, and it sounds like a lot of great community members. So I'm excited. I hope it works out well. This is a trial run. If it's successful, maybe an annual thing. I don't know, but thank you for taking the time and doing that.
Thank you.
I see the chief was moving up this way. Did he have something to add?
No, I got something on the next item.
Okay.
All right. Sorry, did we call for a vote on that one? I lost track. No? Okay. All? Yes. Then all those in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you. All right. And 16, ordinance repealing and recreating section 9.18, para 1, creating loud and unnecessary noise prohibited. Why don't we start with Ian for an explanation?
So this comes out of some complaints that were received by the city regarding, I believe, construction at Trails Edge happening after hours. I know there's been some changeover in the council, but if you remember, I don't know, like 4 years ago or so, we modified the noise ordinance fairly significantly to basically enact what is in this ordinance as letter A, or 1A, which says that it uses the reasonable person standard. So it says no person shall, create loud and unreasonable noises, that are unreasonable. And that has, by and large, sufficed in making sure that people are reasonable about their noises. There's obviously times when it makes sense, like you're snow blowing to get out from work at 3 a.m. because you have to leave. That it is what it is. And we actually do have an exception for some of those noises. But obviously mowing your lawn at 5 a.m. is probably not reasonable. The complaints, let me back up. There are a lot of other municipalities that cite specific construction hours where construction is allowed. That is what this is proposing, with a exception for construction that's approved by either the city engineer or the police chief, because there are obviously times when it is reasonable to do construction, even if it is in the middle of the night. I can think of, the likelihood that HKS, as they're dealing with the brewery building, are probably going to have times when it makes sense to do stuff in the middle of the night, because otherwise they'd be blocking Main Street. So in those cases, or in municipal construction type situations, you could get permission from the city engineer or the police chief to continue with those construction activities. It's the general recommendation of staff that this is not needed. However, it was requested to bring forward. This is not something that there are regular complaints on. This is, by and large, been a non-issue for as long as I've been here. The only real noise complaints I've heard has been regarding music at bars and such. Construction has not been a significant issue, and frankly, I think the construction that they were doing at Trails Edge would probably have been approved as part of this ordinance. It just would have been noticed to the city as part of that. So I would not recommend this modification. If you do want to adopt it, I think this functions in prohibiting those activities, but I think there's so many exceptions to it, and that most of the ones, or the ones specifically we received complaints about, would have been approved in the first place. So I would not recommend this. If there's any specific questions, I threw it out there to, group of municipal attorney friends, and they did say that they generally had some restrictions on time.
Thanks, Ian. I'll kick it over to the chief because I know he had some comments on this too, and then I'll open it up to the council.
Well, I think when he talked about staff members, he echoed what I was going to say. I'll just tell you that the few times that a neighborhood has construction, it's going to be a very rare complaint. And he is right. In this case, I probably would have, knowing what I know now, I would have approved that, which is the ordinance allows. This, to me, creates a whole lot of issues that I think are going to create more problems. For instance, we allow music to go till 11 o'clock at night. Noise is noise. Why are we allowing, we say construction noise you can't have after 10, but you can play music until 11. I understand the snow blowing, but again, we get complaints every winter, people, so I'm sure that's going to follow up. We get complaints during the night about delivery trucks. Is that included in this ordinance? Because that's a noise when somebody's making a delivery and backing up trucks. I know it's getting late, I don't want to, but I would just say this is not needed, and I think it's going to create more problems and complaints and bureaucracy than is needed.
I'll second.
I think we need to make a motion, right? Just our inaction would kill it.
Okay.
Okay.
If all staff is against it, how did it get on the agenda? Why are we even looking at it if nobody's recommending it?
Well, any alderman can bring up an item, so it was recommended by an alderman. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'll open up if any alderman would like to comment or ask questions. Going once, going twice. All right. And it fails due to lack of action. And then with that, we'll move on to reports. A report by Alderman Allen regarding the downtown bid board meeting. Take it away.
There was a bid board meeting that unfortunately I wasn't at. I entered it in my calendar and I missed it, but I did talk with members of the board about the items that came up. The financial report was no surprise. Jay's group does a great job with that. There was an update on the roof line lighting. There are some sections that still have some issues, and prior to addressing those, there's going to be a report from Steiner Electric to talk about how we can mitigate that and what the costs will be associated with that. There is a property owner survey that is going out to members of the bid. And that was modified slightly, and it will be distributed. The Bid Transportation Board has been addressing the future of the downtown, most notably changes to the sidewalk already came up. So that's very positively viewed. And I'm sure that the city attorney will like the fact that smoother sidewalks are less trip and falls. Yep. So that was the sidewalk discussion. The last two of the already funded bike racks were installed at Art Cycle, which is at the extreme south end of the bid, corner of Chestnut and Main. And Doug Newman's people did a great job. We thank Doug for that. We also had a walking discussion of Main Street improvements at the Bid Transportation Board meeting. And we were actually, Doug was there and representing Public Works and Engineering. Thank you, Doug. And we also had some community members that showed up for putting their 2 cents in. So,
nice, awesome. Any questions for Alderman Allen? Seeing none, we'll move on to a report by Alderman Kaler regarding the Parking and Rec Commission meeting.
This is easy. We didn't have a meeting. And I believe our next one is also canceled due to other happenings and lack of activity, so
Got it.
no report.
But a lot of fun stuff happening in parks. So.
I will mention though, yeah, as long as you say that, we had a great event, Regner Fest 30 Ninja Mud Run this past weekend. Went over very well. Well done to Mike and his entire staff. And All Abilities Playground also has a fundraiser going on. You can get pickets with your name on them or a company name, personal name, whatever you'd like. Look at their All Abilities Playground Facebook page for all the information. They've got a couple events coming up where you can get those. So some good stuff happening in parks. Hopefully next time I'll have a full report for you.
Thank you. And number 19, I believe this is a report by Alderman Model regarding the Planning Commission meeting.
Yeah, we had a planning commission meeting on just past July 6th. We gave out 4 conditional use permits for microplaning facilities that were approved. We approved a site plan for alterations to the Boys and Girls Club, which actually looks really good. And we took a look at a concept plan for the Clearview and Daisy over in District 6, that potential development over there, and that still doesn't look like something we like to approve. So he's gonna come back to the drawing board for us in another, I think actually at the next council meeting or at the next planning commission meeting I was told, so.
Great.
We'll see if that one works.
Any questions for Alderman Model? Then a report by Administrator Shambeau regarding the 2021 Board of Review.
I think we probably covered a lot of that already regarding the legal challenges. Thanks to Stephanie, Jeff, and assessing staff for working through the Board of Review process this year. We had some new members, so it took some additional work on behalf of Stephanie and coordinating and just ramping up those Board of Review members for the work at hand. They did a great job. They were present. We struggled in the past, especially during COVID, with quorum, and Ian and Amy represented us legally. We requested information. They had us sit through long meetings when there's nothing else going on, and that's taxing for Board of Review members who like to be active and get on with their lives. So I don't know. I think the report is just that it's over. We have met, and we have met the requirements, and we have 4 challenges that survived the process. We'll keep you posted as to how those are going on. At some point, it might be helpful to have Amy and Ian provide a closed session update on those dark store lawsuits. We'll pay attention to that and bring that to you at the appropriate time. There isn't really anything that's actively pressing right now with them, but as that gets closer or becomes an issue, we'll bring that to you in closed. Thank you.
Great. Any questions for Jay? Seeing now, we are going to adjourn from closed session, so I'll open it up. I'm sorry. Yep, go ahead.
Jay, one last question on the dark store. Will that have any impact on our budget process? And if so, could we have a presentation prior to the budget?
So it shouldn't have an impact on our 2022 budget unless one of the court cases were to happen within the next month or so, and they're not scheduled to. So no. I mean, if you want just to have an update from the legal team, we can do that. But I did share with you the thumbnail open session review of that, and we're okay for now.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Anybody else have questions? All right, well, we are going to adjourn from closed session, but before that, I'll open up if there's any announcements for the good of the order.
Yeah, I did want to say, Chris, real quick, that HPBA handled the concessions down at Regner Park after the 4th of July parade this year, and it was a huge success. And I just wanted to thank all the wonderful volunteers that came out to help. We had actually too many volunteers. It was wonderful. And a special thanks to the Parks Department, in particular Jackie Maynard and Mike Yench for having the faith in us to actually handle that event. We must have served over 1,000 people. It was really, really a huge turnout. And also a big thank you to the Public Works Department. Doug Newman and his guys went down and cleaned up after the mess I made in the middle of the river in front of the Barton Dam yesterday. I just went down, chopped down a bunch of trees, and just left everything laying there. So they went down and cleaned it up. It was wonderful. Thank you.
At least you were making the mess in your own district.
That's
not
right.
Going into other people's
That's
districts.
right. It was my mess.
Any other announcements? We got to say go Bucks, right? That'll be exciting game tomorrow, so feel free to check it out. Otherwise, I will ask for a motion to go into closed session, and that is number 21. It's to entertain a motion and to adjourn into closed session pursuant to state statute section 19.85 par 1E, deliberating or negotiating the purchasing of public properties, investing of public funds, or conducting other specified public business whenever competitive or bargaining reasons require a closed session. Development at 105 South Forest Avenue and 235 East Water Street.
Motion to adjourn into closed session.
Second.
Thank you, Alan and Model. And Steph, we could have a roll call vote.
Alderman Butchlick?
Aye.
Alderman Allen?
Aye.
Alderman Berquist?
Aye.
Alderman Kaler? Alderman Dolnick?
Aye.
Alderman Aaron's?
Aye.
Alderman Model?
Aye.
Alderman Kennedy? We are in closed session.
We're in closed session. Have a great night, everyone. Thanks.